Get ready to summon that black girl magic. Jess is leaving lumberjack lesbian behind and channeling her inner Janelle Monáe. Oh, and this is Queer Eye, so we don't say Jess, we say Jazz. Let's get into it.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Jazz! Jazz Queen!
So good.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Jess. Tomato. I love it. Oh my gosh. Hi guys.
Hi.
Episode 5 already. Episode 5. I'm feeling alive. Hello. It's Charles here for another episode of Queer Eye. This episode is called Black Girl Magic, and we're getting super magical today. I am so excited to get into another super emotional episode of Queer Eye, but we're also emotional for a different reason. Brendan couldn't be here this week.
Aw,
Sorry,
buddy.
Brendan.
But next week he'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be back next
ready
week.
to go.
Yeah. All right,
Reading
that's
the
enough of that. Hey, Christine.
Hey, Charles, and hey, guys. Thanks for tuning in this week. It's your girl, Christine. I'm back, and I'm upset at myself for not bringing tissues because I know it's about to get real in a couple minutes when we get into this episode. But to my left, I've got Anna Kay.
What's up, guys? I agree with you. I'm Anna Kay. So happy to be here as always. I always make fun of Charles for crying every episode. I'm like, oh, I didn't cry. This episode, it got me. So here we are.
Here we are, and we actually talked earlier right before we went live, about when we started crying. And just talking about when we started crying. So get ready for the tears. They're about to start flowing. But before we get into that, let's talk about this young lady, Jess from Lawrence, Kansas. Her name is Jess, Lawrence, Kansas. She came out at 16. She describes herself as a lumberjack lesbian. She was nominated by her friend Carmen, who explains Jess as being very giving, very loving, very self-sacrificial even. And we open up on the Fab Five driving into Lawrence, Kansas to look at what She is
very fluid with her gender.
She is.
So,
she could be channeling her inner Jeff.
Exactly.
True.
So they go into Lawrence, Kansas to see how she lives, which is kind of interesting.
Not good.
Yeah.
But not on purpose.
Not on purpose.
Jess has she's had a rough go at life, so I think her current living situation kind of reflects just where all the events have led her to right now.
Yeah.
Just crashing with two of her close friends.
Mm-hmm. Some backstory that they provide before we actually go into her house and like how she lived. She was adopted, and then at 16 she was outed actually to her adoptive parents, and they disowned her and they kicked her out of the house. Really sad
immediately,
story.
like that day.
Yeah.
Like she couldn't even get her stuff really, she said, or say goodbye. It was just, you're out.
Yeah. So now she's 23 and she's been on her own ever since. And now she wants to redefine what family means to her.
Yes.
And RuPaul says it all the time. We're lucky as gay people because we get to choose our family. And I mean, I have a loving family. My family is supportive of me, but I do get to choose some of my family members. So that's what they're doing with her. So they pull up to this gay American flag. And they waltz in and begin investigating, right? They don't even knock on the door. They're just kick it down. Like, we're coming in.
Well, it's practically open. I guess that's just very just chill, hang out the house type vibes.
Yeah. What I love about this house too is that it's sort of like the queer house of the community.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're queer or just feel like any sort of misfit in that community, it's a safe place to go, and I love that.
Mm-hmm. They will take you in, and I mean it's right there in the front, the American flag, the gay American flag. It's like, you are welcome here, darling.
Yeah.
So the one thing that sticks out at me is Anthony goes into the kitchen and smells some celery. He immediately finds the stinky item in the kitchen, and he judges them a little bit for that. But right after that happens, Jess comes home, and she explains what lumberjack lesbian means. She explains that it's just like plaid, and then Tan talks to her a little bit about that. Mm-hmm. And what Tan wants to do is make her more on the spectrum of the Janelle Monáe style as opposed to just plaid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like that lumberjack lesbian phrase was just her default that she had kind of fallen into, and Tan does a really good job at kind of unpacking that right away. Because even in the way that she describes it, it's very much third person, the lumberjack lesbian, but you can kind of sense that she doesn't truly identify with that. It's just something she's kind of putting on, literally down to her costume, the cut-off plaid, and it's the routine that she's fallen into. But of course, the Fab Five is going to do what they do best and unpack the girl that's underneath
course.
that, the
Yeah.
beautiful, fluid, loving person underneath all that. So
Yeah.
they got right to it.
I love when Tan says, okay, this is cool, but like, is this what you want or is this what you think you should be doing?
Yes.
And then it really causes her to pause and say, like, I need to think about that. What does that mean?
Because she says Janelle Monáe is her icon, and that's like opposite of lumberjack lesbian. Janelle Monáe is like chic and cool and edgy.
And gender fluid.
And gender
Right.
fluid.
It's that moment of mindfulness of like, are you aware that you're not actually projecting what you think that you really want to be?
Yeah,
Exactly.
And it's interesting because like she's from a smaller community, so I think like if she thinks in her head, oh, I want to ride the line of being masculine and feminine, the only way to communicate masculinity is like, "Ugh, lumberjack," like that's like the idea of
Right.
masculinity.
For her environment, you're
For
saying.
her environment,
Right,
yeah.
that makes sense.
So what Janelle Monáe does, and by the way, I'm obsessed with Janelle Monáe and her style.
Love her.
She gives a different kind of
good.
masculine vibe that's more chic and cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what Jess wanted to do. But she, maybe didn't know how, didn't have maybe the funds, the resources. So
Right.
Tan is there to help her with that. And then Anthony grabs her and talks to her about a potluck idea.
So cute. This is after he tastes the ramen.
Yeah,
Crispy.
the
I've never
dry.
had dry ramen before. I always
I-
cooked it in college.
Yeah.
I audibly gasped when I saw that.
Well, and then he said, I've seen people do this all the time. Like,
Who
girl, what
does
are you
that?
around with?
I mean, I just
Where?
all the power. We love Anthony. I know is like one of our favorites. So especially this one over here.
Yeah.
So he can do no wrong. It was just kind of like, really, Anthony?
It was strange.
It was strange.
But charming.
it was so charming. He's down to earth. He's humble.
He's humble, girl.
No matter how big he gets, he'll always taste the crunchy ramen.
Oh my gosh.
He'll always bite into that crunchy, salty, dry ramen. But yeah, he talks to Jess about the potluck thing, but she is reluctant about this because she doesn't want her friends to have to bring anything. She's like, well, I don't want my friends to, when they come over, like, I want to do the dinner. And it's like, girl, like, you can have your friends, like, provide something and
it's
help
sweet.
out. Yeah, it is sweet.
I think her immediate reluctance to that really taps into what Karamo talks to her about later, which is kind of letting other people in and seeing that other people want to share in life with you and they want to do good and give them the chance to be there for you. I mean, obviously her abandonment issues, and we'll get into her past later, probably is what built up that wall for her. But like, yeah, I thought the potluck was such a great idea. Bring people in, get you out of your comfort zone, like, and it's going to involve all of your best friends in an environment that you guys love. So
Totally.
such a great idea.
And one thing I noticed at the beginning of this episode, I was like, okay, I think the reason she's so giving and self-sacrificial is she has experienced such deep abandonment and feelings of not being wanted. She doesn't want to give anybody a reason to like leave her.
Right.
So like the feelings of not being wanted that come with being adopted, I'm sure are very deep, and like getting over those, it's possible, but I don't think it happens overnight.
Right.
And then to have your adoptive parents like give you up, it's like she has to have some feelings of what's wrong with me. So throughout the episode, I noticed, I was like, oh, there it is being communicated again. Like there she is being self-sacrificial again. Like there she is not demanding or not putting the onus on her friends again. So I noticed it as a theme in the episode, and you'll see it too. So then Bobby actually has a moment with her.
Oh my
and
god,
opens-
Bobby got featured. We always kind of tease about how
Yeah.
Bobby like just shows up to like paint some cabinets and
Right.
stuff, but like he has a huge presence. Last week he had a huge presence, and this week he's in the episode so much, doing so many different things outside of design because it relates to his background, which I'm sure you'll talk about, Charles.
Yes. Oh my God. Well, first of all, he wants to set up her current place to make it feel like a home, which is natural. That's what he does with everybody. But Bobby really opens up about how he was adopted and almost the same experience as Jess. Like he came out, he was kind of excommunicated. He's still in touch with his family now, but like he had been on his own since he was 15.
Religious background. Conversion therapy had been floated around to him.
And I mean, looking at like face value, Jess and Bobby don't seem to have anything in common. And I was saying this before the show. I was like, I don't feel like I had anything in common with Jess, but I was relating to her. You really never know how deep those connections can be until you take the time to really talk to somebody. So like surface level, you look at Jess and you look at Bobby. Jess, young lesbian black woman from a rural community, and Bobby, like older like white guy who's gay from like the city. You're like, what do they have in common other than the fact that they're part of the LGBT community? But their roots go so much deeper than that. I thought that was such a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it seemed like those two were tailor-made to meet and have this moment together. And truthfully, I feel like Bobby had the moment of the episode because through, I think for Jess, seeing somebody kind of come out of a similar situation like she did, who is of a completely different walk from life that she is an inspiring thing. It's like, we don't have to be the same person like physically on paper to have learned the same lessons from the cards that we were dealt. And I thought it was beautiful that they had that exchange together.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So then Karamo actually talks to her a little bit about her Paramore tattoo. And that's whenever she talks about being called Oreo, not being black enough because she was into rock music. She loved Paramore, and thought that was kind of a theme for the rest of Karamo's storyline in this episode, is establishing Jess's identity as a black woman, a strong black lesbian woman.
Yeah.
And then...
Well, I don't want to move away from that
Yeah,
because we
sure.
definitely...
we gotta talk about
Right,
that
we
for a
will,
second.
we will.
Oh, no, I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead. I want you to keep with your...
Because off screen, I mean, off air, we both just related so hard to Jess in that moment of, our own struggles with identifying as black women growing up in our own respective lives. I mean, I went to public school. I'm not sure what your background was, but you know at that age that I don't think we had the right language to understand the differences of our blackness, and it was kind of hard dealing with other people who may not get that and have used those terms that were not fun. There's definitely derogatory to be called an Oreo.
An Oreo, totally. And I know we both have Caribbean backgrounds, and so there's a difference really between being Caribbean American, being Black American, and in a lot of ways, yeah, I felt very. This is where I related to Jess the most. And Charles, we talked about this, about how like I never cried in Queer Eye, and it got me because I struggle to this day with my identity as a black woman in America. I've been too black, I've been too white. I tend to date white men, and in some of their families that's been an issue. So these are real things that I feel all the time. And then relating to her family, I grew up with a single mom. Like my dad chose not to be in my life. And so it hits you.
Yeah.
I just really believe in her struggle, and just how much she's trying to find out who she is.
Yeah. And that is this episode in a nutshell, is like, no matter where you come from, no matter what walk of life you come from, you can always relate to finding your own identity. And with this example with Jess, like Anna and Christine, you can relate so personally because you've gone through it. And like, I was thinking watching the episode, I was like, I cannot wait to like talk about this with Christine and Anna, because they understand this. And y'all, like, you don't even have to be part of the LGBT community to know what that feels like. And Anna, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, I know.
So
I'm like,
special,
what is
girl.
wrong with me?
That moment,
like
we
the episode
appreciate
all over
you being
again.
vulnerable because...
But it's it's real life. It's
Yeah.
real stuff that people just, and that's, again, I always talk about just the bigger picture of the show and what it does. And that's the thing, like whether you're in the LGBTQ community or not, it's a show about bringing people together, about love, about community, and it's just touching. So,
Girl, preach on it. So yeah, we already know that Bobby and Karamo are going to have the moments of this episode. It's going to be an emotional one. But there's always Jonathan to provide some relief.
Yes, thank God for
some
Jonathan, because I would have
reprieve.
been just done.
Yeah.
Just done.
He talks to her for sure. He talks to her a little bit about the hair thing.
Oh God! Well, no, I'm not done. That's another thing.
Uh-huh.
Oh my
Like
God,
black
yes.
hair. Oh, I'll let you finish, but oh my God, that also got me.
That unpacks the whole other set of, because it's like a microcosm of
That's
like not
another-
being black enough and being too black.
Exactly. That's another part of Black identity, is hair and hair culture and what it means. And I again related to that so much. So it was like a triple. She knocked me out this episode.
That part definitely got to me as well because, later on in her transformation, Jonathan helps her do essentially a big chop and let go of her permed hair. And that was something that I made the decision to do 2 years ago when I moved to LA 3 years ago. But into my journey here, I decided to kind of like shed that part of myself. And I remember how cathartic that felt, how scary that felt for me, how that challenged what I was taught about myself as a Black woman growing up, about how I should look and keep my hair to be accepted in certain spaces, and kind of just starting that journey all over. Mind you, I do still wear wigs. I do different things with my hair. That's how I move through my identity as a Black woman, how I express myself outwardly. But that connection to needing that straight hair to be accepted in white spaces where I was the only Black person, or having it being used against me in certain Black spaces where it's like, you don't fit what everyone else looks like. There's just so many layers to it that it actually broke my heart to know that Jess went through that by herself.
Yeah.
Because I was so thankful that I had Black sisters and friends to help me figure that out, to know that she was by herself, figuring that out, like,
At
Yeah.
16.
At 16.
When you're a
And
16-year-old girl.
I
Oh my
know.
God.
And too with Jess, she's talking about, she was like, well, I felt like if I could fix my hair, that would take away from the attention of people seeing me as queer. It broke my heart.
Yeah. And okay, just you talking about the hair experience, like that is why like the hair story is it's like a perfect example of like the Blackness identity, because on one side you're like, okay, well, I want to wear my hair natural because I know people will be saying like, oh, if I try to keep it straight, or if I put weave in or extensions or whatever, people are going to say I'm trying to be too white. But then I shouldn't be under the pressure of having to behave in a certain way because of my skin color. I should be able to do what I want. And so just all of those thoughts going through your head, personally, of course, I can't relate, but it really is heartbreaking to see somebody have to toil over that alone.
Completely. And I love too, the last point I'll make is I love that Jonathan, of all people, is the one helping her through this.
Yeah.
As a white gay man, what a beautiful thing to show that in this day and age, we can have that sort of interaction in a Black salon and a Black space.
Yeah. So Jess actually does have one biological sister, though, who she grew up thinking was her cousin. Her name is Janice. Sorry. She has the car moment with Bobby. And Bobby and Jess talk about their adoption stories and how kind of growing up as an adopted person infected them. And then they talk about the sister, and Jess didn't contact her sister because she didn't want to burden her. And Bobby then brings up and makes a great point. Well, what if your sister wanted a relationship with you? And Jess is like, well, I didn't really look at it that way. But so that kind of starts the conversation. And then we realize that Jess is an aunt. So she was like, well, I never really thought of myself as an aunt. I just thought of my sister having a daughter. Like, I didn't think about it like that.
she's an auntie.
Yeah. So that opens up the conversation. Then they go to West Elm and look at some cool chic stuff to revamp her house, which is nice for her
Yeah.
to pick some things.
To that note, I mean, yes, the house where everyone crashes, it needed some love, but especially her bedroom. Like, when they at one point when the Fab Five first crashed the house, they kind of knocked over her clothing rack.
Oh, I know.
And I was like, dang, all her
Poor
panties
girl.
probably fell on the floor. I was just like, all her, mentionals, everything is just on the ground. And I was like, no, because I know from experience, like when your room is not kept, it stresses you out. It gives me insane
And when it feels like it's
anxiety.
not your room. Like, she didn't feel
Exactly.
rooted in that space. She was like, well, I don't know if I'll stay or go. And
It felt very nomadic, and I
Yes.
think she needed a way to like plant some roots. So I like that Bobby helped her, allowed her to be a part of that collaborative process and picking out those statement pieces that'll make Jess's pad, her pad.
yeah,
And you
and
saw
sexy.
Yeah, for sure. And you saw her like, I never really considered silverware that was not silver. I like the gold. So you saw her making those decisions for herself, being like, I like this, I want this for me.
Exactly.
That was cool too. So they pick out some stuff, but then she goes to the loft with Tan, where she meets Tan and Anthony. And Tan kind of takes her through some clothing options, some wardrobe. And she's wearing this crop top. She looks amazing when she goes. I was
That
like,
body. I was
this
like,
body?
Body.
Body. If this body is by ramen, get me some ramen
I
because
know.
I need this waist. Oh my! She was like, sometimes I eat ramen.
Snatched.
Snatched. Yeah, it's all the sodium just kind of sakes in all the water weight and everything.
Yep.
She said she had sometimes eaten ramen for like 2 weeks
I
at
know,
a time.
because she couldn't afford
Right.
other food.
Right. But it did wonders for that waistline.
Oh my God! Only Charles could make that joke. Okay,
I'm
only
sorry.
Charles.
I'm
Only
sorry.
Charles.
I'm sorry. She has a banging bod, and Tan points it out. Tan points out, he's like, I want to work with this body. Like, you have some great elements to work with.
I mean, can I just say, like, black don't crack. Like, you in your 20s.
She looks great.
She looks amazing. She has such a great base. It's the perfect time for them to just come and zhuzh it up in every way possible and just help her step into her greatness.
For sure. And Tan wants to do that. He wants to play on the masculine feminine thing. So first he puts her in this cool leather vest, and she looks amazing. She looks very like
itching for that vest.
She
Biker
was
chic.
loving that vest.
She was ready. She's like, yes, this is what I wanted.
But I just have to say, the black dress was my favorite.
Oh, the leather dress.
I want that dress.
Whole snack. Yes.
Good God. And she says, like, I never really considered dresses before because they reminded me of church. And that was like a trigger. Like, I don't want to go back to dresses because I don't want to go back to church in my head. But this dress, girl, you don't go to church in this dress.
Oh, no.
Do not.
You'll catch on fire. It was amazing. I loved it, and I think she rocked it. It was iconic. So then she goes into the kitchen, and Anthony shows her how to make some fancy ramen, right?
So good.
So he goes through kind of the recipe, and he's like, this isn't something you would make every day, but it's something you make for your friends. He kind of talks about how, like, oh, see how I just asked for help? He gives her a little bit of a lesson on asking for help because she never does that. It's like a budget-friendly way to cook for your friends and family.
I will say though, I didn't really care for him teaching her how to make ramen from scratch. Only because I feel like still, if you're push comes to
ramen?
shove,
Right.
it's ramen, and if you know you could just buy it and not waste all that time, you're probably gonna do that. I wish he would have showed her something else, really quick, healthy, and affordable to also make that goes really well with ramen.
Spring rolls.
Like
Spring
lettuce
rolls,
cups.
something.
Wait, is
just
spring rolls and ramen the same family? Girl, I don't know.
I mean, it's all
I feel
kind
like
of
that goes
Asian.
It's like
together.
Asian fusion?
Yeah,
Fusion.
We're
But-
all about fusion with Kurai.
Yes. Fuse it.
Fuse it.
Together. Yeah. That's kind of a terrible comment to make because I can't think of anything else that he probably should have taught her. But I remember feeling just a little bit let down by that. Just because.
Yeah, Christine, back it up.
Anthony
okay?
can't be perfect all the time,
I
Charles.
love
Yeah, he can.
Anthony.
Oh my gosh.
You can.
love you.
Yes, we can, Tony.
But
God.
I can't.
that was it. That was
I
the comment.
can't.
Moving on.
Can I walk out? I'm dead.
Anyways, he does that with Jess, and she learns how to make ramen. Whatever. So now,
Whatever.
the real meat and potatoes, if you will, of the episode, the Karamo segment, when they go to Alvin Ailey studio. Alvin Ailey. Sorry, I was reading it out of the side of my
Alvin Ailey.
The Alvin Ailey studio. Thank you. Correct me, girl. So yeah, he brings her to the Friends of Alvin Ailey studio. Alvin Ailey, one of the most prolific modern dancers to come out of this country, African-American modern dancers who established an amazing dance company. And he takes her there to kind of not make her dance, but give her an example of what Black excellence in every form can look like.
Oof, gave me chills.
I love it.
It did.
And those girls, how fierce were those dancers?
Yes, I
Also,
loved
second
it.
time in a week, Karam has brought us to a dance studio not to dance. And
I know.
I'm living for
I
it.
know.
Living for it. I just love the power in that scene and her talking to those young girls who were around her age or just feeling very empowered. That one girl who was like, oh, melanin is the best, melanin queen, talking about her natural hair. And
Yes.
again, to your point, you don't always have to be so on the nose with, rocking natural hair and this and that. I do believe in options and choices. I do braids. I do all types of stuff. But
sure.
just for her to have the power in herself and then be willing to branch out, I think is very important for young Black women to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I remember the scene. There definitely was, I think, one other white girl in that group, but it was predominantly Black women. But I just love the fact that Jess saw there were so many different types of Black women: larger women, slimmer
Well, yep.
women, light-skinned women, dark-skinned women, women who were rocking their natural hair, women who weren't. So to see all those representations, all doing something just like
And
classical
all
ballet,
claiming to be Black women.
yes, and
in
owning
different
their
ways.
strength. It was like, I think, the right thing that she needed to build that sense of community and know that there are other girls out there. Like, I mean, what if she wanted to pick up dancing now and do
know.
that? Like, he could have planted a seed.
For sure. And after that segment where they interact with the young Black women who are part of the dance company, Jess actually says, now I regret not expressing myself more. I see these young women and I feel like I need to make up for lost time with my self-expression. And I still see her afraid of not belonging, though, because she even talked about how, like, she is worried about stepping into a community like this, and it makes her a little bit nervous, like if she does the wrong thing or the right thing. And it was a really great moment that they had after talking to all of the women in the dance company.
So cool. Only
that was
Karamo
great.
could think outside the box like that, because I wouldn't have thought that would be a natural fit. And then when I was watching it, I was like, of course this is a natural fit, Karamo. Like,
Yeah.
you've done it again, you know?
Karamo's, he does have a tough task ahead of him, I think, in getting creative with visual representations of the work that he's
Self-love.
doing. Because self-love is something that is going to take time. It's an ongoing relationship with yourself. Some of the things that he talks about with these heroes is like, I see it as laying the groundwork for long-term, like building long-term healthy habits. But it is a TV show, and we need to fill his segment. So I actually think he does a really good job.
It's amazing.
Karamo.
Yeah.
Like figuring out ways to
Cheers to
visualize
Karamo.
it.
We'll do a soft clap.
A round of applause.
A round of applause. I'll take that one.
Can you guys hear me in there?
Yes.
Fun fact that Karamo, when he had an interview with Maria Menounos, he was saying he can't even watch season 1 because of what Christine just pointed out, that it's hard to represent the work he did, so he ended up being way more in the producing part of it. So he makes the decisions of how it's going to be represented, so that he's actually
Wow.
showing the work that he's doing with them.
That's awesome.
Right.
That's amazing. Thank
on,
you for the
Karamo.
insider tips, Steph.
Yes.
That was some insider knowledge that we have.
Appreciate
I
you.
whisper it because it's exclusive. I don't know. But yeah, like with this identity thing, it is such a great thing to see, because even if you look at like gay identity and like how to be gay, the Fab Five, they're all very different, and they all come from very different backgrounds. I mean, we have on the more flamboyant side, like Jonathan. We have on the more like masculine side, Anthony. We have everything in between. We have all walks of life. We have people of color. We have people not of color. We have people from every background. So it's like in the same way that Jess is finding her identity as a black woman, like the LGBT community can relate, because we all have to find our own specific identity as part of that community. And if that's not necessarily what we initially thought of what it meant to be gay, that doesn't mean that we're any less part of it.
Right.
Like just because you have weaving your hair doesn't mean you're less of an authentic black woman, or just because you wear natural hair doesn't mean you judge other women for doing something a different way. And I keep using hair as the example. That's
No, it's a
probably,
great example.
If I'm being clunky in the way I'm communicating this, correct me, call me out.
I
We will,
appreciate
but
you
we-
having the conversation. I think
sure.
I love this.
I need to learn.
I think
And
this
y'all
is
are-
so
You're on the
great.
right path. No, you're
Okay.
you're doing good.
They said
You're
something
good.
in the show about friends and family, and I think it was Tan that said, "Oh, it's a family," and I feel like that's what this is right now. And
Yeah.
I'm living for it.
Aw,
I'm living for
family.
it. Living for it.
Yes. So speaking of family, then they go to the genealogy center to find out who Jess's biological family is and where they can trace that back. And Bobby kind of takes her to this genealogy center, and surprise, Janice is there, Jess's sister. She meets her there, and her daughter. And oh, by the way, Janice and Jess look a lot alike. If I grew up being told that this was my cousin, I'd be like, there's something more to this story here, because we look a lot alike.
A lot.
Oof. It's crazy though that ended up being their dynamic. Cause I was talking about this with a friend the other day, that those tests, those genealogy, like 23, like a lot of things end up getting exposed.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
people find out some like crazy family secrets with your
Yeah.
lineage. It's like, ooh, this was a pleasant surprise at least. You know?
For sure. Yeah, my sister and I did some 23andMe actually. I'm boring. I'm from like Ireland and England. There's nothing spicy really. I mean,
I
there's
think
some
you're
Dutch.
plenty spicy.
Some rich history, love.
Yeah, there's some rich history. I mean, I am gay, so that's spicy enough, right?
I was kind of hoping you'd be like 2% Australian though, just because your
Australian.
Australian accent is so good.
Oh my god, thank you. Oh wow, that was awful. Oh my god, thank you so much.
There we go.
Better.
There it is,
Snaps.
right there.
Better. Love it.
All right, so then the genealogy librarian walks up.
I can't.
The genealogy librarian, her name is Cheryl, which is like the most librarian name ever. She's like,
Cheryl.
She's like, hi, I'm Cheryl. I work here. I'm like, you didn't even have to say you worked here. I know you work here, girl. I'm Cheryl. No, but she's very helpful. Very helpful. She comes in and she traces their family tree back. Thank God for Cheryl. The Cheryls of the world, you don't get enough credit.
Yeah.
All
To
the way
Civil
back.
War days.
God bless. Yes.
Crazy.
Civil War days.
Crazy.
And they start learning about their grandparents, their great grandparents, their great great grandparents, and yeah, it's really it's enlightening, and there's a lot of light shed on who they are as people. And also, props to the editing in this episode because it's not easy to make like a library looking through newspapers seem emotional, but they did it well with the low angle and the dark light and the music. I thought it was kind of cool, funny thing.
That's a cute little shout out to the editors.
Yeah.
They don't get a lot of
They don't
love. I
get a
think
lot
that's
of
so
credit.
cute.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I mean, they're in like a genealogy library. How like emotional and sexy can it be? But they did. A
And
good
also
job.
like intimate. Like they're having a serious
Yeah.
conversation. It's like across the desk. They
I
did a
know,
good job.
like wood paneling in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Jess invites Janice to the dinner at the end of the week, and even with the invitation of the dinner, Jess is like kind of saying, if you're free, if you have time, don't want to impose, don't want to like make you come to my dinner or anything. But Janice is like, of course I want to come. Like, I want to get to know you. I miss you. She opens up about how she misses her and she wants to hold her and hug her and be in her life. I thought this was a great moment with her sister.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I have two sisters, and you know, for better or for worse, we're pretty close. So, like, I felt that moment. Like, yes, you have a sister, and you have a beautiful niece.
Yeah.
Like, being an aunt is so beautiful. So I think that'll give Jess something to know that someone else is looking up to her too.
Yeah.
To give her reason to,
Yeah.
keep pushing forward.
And I have 4 nephews and a niece.
Wow.
And my sisters, I love them so much and I'm close with them. And it really is important to take advantage of the time that you have with your loved ones because you never know when it's going to end or what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
I love that she's rekindling this relationship and Bobby is there to oversee it the whole time. So then comes Jonathan. We always love Jonathan's segment, but he talks to her about her hair because that seems to be the one thing that she wants to kind of work on or look at. So she said she had been Jess had been perming it because when she started perming it, classmates stopped bullying her for her bigger hair. And then they started bullying her for being queer. So she was like, if I can stop their focus on my hair, like at least I can take them bullying me for being a lesbian. But that's like so awful. Like I feel so bad for her. So what Jonathan does is he goes really short with her hair.
This is the big chop that Christine was talking about earlier.
Chop, chop,
Chopped
chop.
it off.
Yes.
So cutting off those relaxed ends, getting to her true curl pattern, and letting her be the fierce black fashionista that she is.
Absolutely.
And true story, natural hair can be difficult to take care of at times, but with her length and the shape of her head, the haircut
it's
they
so
gave
smart.
her, it's so smart and
So
it's
smart.
so easy to maintain and manipulate. And I think for someone like Jess, who's constantly on the go, working where she works
Doesn't
at
have
a
a lot of
restaurant,
money.
yeah, like you need your hair out of your face. It's totally practical for her.
Smart. And did you see Jonathan laying the edges?
Oh my God,
Laid.
I live for that.
Laying the edges. I was like,
Laid.
okay,
Tucked
Jonathan,
away.
you know.
Come on now.
That was awesome. And after the makeover,
See, Charles, you know what edges are. This is so
know what
fabulous.
edges are.
Oh my God, you guys.
I know what edges are. Yeah, I come from the gay community, and snatching your edges is a common thing. Yeah.
I'm
Living
here
for it.
So he lays the edges, and after the makeover, she says she feels sexy and confident. Feels sexy. It's awesome to see somebody say that they feel sexy.
Yes.
That's a lot of S's. Wow. But she does, and I think that this is so heartwarming to see. Jonathan always brings out the best. So then they go back to the house for the reveal, right? And this is whenever we go into the more emotional part of the episode because this is when the Fab Five all come back together to look at all of their results and their work, and this is whenever she starts to thank them. But before she starts to thank them, let's talk about that house. It looks amazing. It looks awesome. That cool leather couch. The piano is refurbished. The fireplace is on point with the candles. And the blue cabinets are in the kitchen. They look awesome. And the bedroom is funky, cool, and fresh.
Love it.
Love it.
It was
so
really
her.
great.
It was so her style.
He hit the nail on the head. And the closet is still exposed, and it's perfect. I love it. And then the fashion show, right? Tan reveals the new boss bitch look.
Love it.
And she comes in that chic little suit with that amazing blue heel.
That kitten heel.
You see her running
Meow.
Yeah, Hillary who? Because this is the next presidential candidate. She's going to announce her presidency pretty soon with that outfit. I'd vote for her.
When we get to news and gossip, I have an update if Jess kept her style or not.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'd keep that style.
Gotta stick around.
Jess, if you didn't keep your style, send it to me because I want it. Then the checkered jacket and boyfriend jean. And she says she's done with the lumberjack lesbian vibe and she's going for more of a soft butch.
I love it.
That was awesome. That branding. really great.
Definitely on point though, because
Yeah.
it's not like she's soft.
She's not a base, soft butch.
Is spot on.
And if she wants to go back to lumberjack lesbian, go for it. I mean, you're fluid, so you can always go where you want to go if you're establishing, rooted in your own identity, right? Yes.
Yes.
And then come the waterworks for me, at least. She starts to thank the Fab Five. She says she had pretty much given up on kind, genuine people. She connects with Bobby and thanks him. And then she turns around and talks to Karamo. And she says Karamo was one of her biggest role models growing up. And Karamo reminds her of her identity. And Karamo cries, Jess cries, Jonathan cries. We all cried.
Charles cries.
Charles cries.
I'm getting ready to cry.
It was a moment because, like, you can tell whenever she's opening up to Karamo, she's basically saying, I had nobody in my immediate vicinity and community to turn to, and I had to seek out role models because there were no role models coming forward to lead me in the right direction. So she had to lead herself. And you can see in Karamo's eyes, actually, was the thing that was heartbreaking to me, because he, I think, saw every young African-American boy or girl who ever needed a role model that he was trying to be. He was trying to be that role model for. I thought that was beautiful.
It really just shows you like the global like just reach of the show and what it can do.
Yeah.
Like,
And can you imagine being the camera guy, by the way?
Oh my gosh.
How does that camera guy stay steady? I'd be weeping.
I know. I'd be shaking. I'd be
Yeah. They're like, one specific qualification we need for our cameramen, they need to be sociopaths. No emotion, because we need a steady hand. We can't have you shaking when you're weeping.
steady hands.
seriously.
Yeah, this was the moment of the episode, for sure.
Yeah, and going back to what I touched on earlier, I truly saw like growth in this episode. Some of the other heroes, like you do see a big transformation, whether it be physical or like their house or just an attitude shift. But like really with Jess, I felt like she blossomed into just a whole new woman. And to see that in like 45 minutes was just a lot to take in and just so powerful. I really think like that she was the perfect hero. Like when you look at Queer Eye, outside looking in, you want to just give somebody a snapshot of what this show is, what it aims to do, and the kind of impact that you want it to have. Like I see Jess, and that whole journey.
Yeah.
And we get a chance to see her fully when she throws the dinner party for her chosen family and friends. The Fab Five go back to the loft to view this, and the town queers come to the house, and I love it. I love that moment. The town queers, God bless. They're so amazing. And she has an opportunity. Jenny comes as well. She has an opportunity to tell her chosen family, you are my chosen family. She's an amazing host for them. And we really get to see her on full display. And this was a perfect display of a strong, black, beautiful lesbian woman, Jess.
Jazz
Queen.
Jazz Queen.
Jazz Queen. What a great episode, y'all. And
Obsessed.
And of course, the burning question in our news and gossip segment. Thank you, Anna Kay, for prepping yourself.
Welcome.
Do you have some tea regarding
I
Jess?
have so much tea, you guys.
Yes. Jess.
Okay, the big question is, did Jess keep her style up? Did she keep her look? She did! I have a still for you guys. Not only is she still wearing makeup, she's still got the short crop, looking fabulous. Checkered shirt is still in play. This was like a few days ago on her Instagram. I have another shot of her too with a glitter eye, you guys. Glitter eyeshadow and a glitter lip. I'm obsessed.
And a full brow.
And so yes, she kept it up and we're so excited. Super big news. Jess is going back to college, you guys. Yes!
Oh my God.
I know, it's incredible.
I forgot to mention that in the beginning episode.
Yeah, so they raised, there was a GoFundMe for her, and they raised over $100,000 to send her back to college. So not only we talked a lot about how, she's transformed, but in a meaningful way, this is changing her life. Huge news, Jess met her biological mother, Tammy. She went to Georgia. Guess what the name of the town was? You're gonna die. Gay, Georgia.
Oh
dead,
my God.
Dead.
Wait a minute.
Wait, that's her mom?
That is her biological mother. And so they've reunited and they have some sort of relationship now. TBD on, how it's gonna...
Wait.
Yes.
Queer Eye Fab Five did work in Gay Georgia in season like 1 or 2.
There they are, baby.
And
there
they also
are.
did work with a girl named Tammy. Is this the same Tammy?
I don't know.
Probably not.
Look how amazing. And then finally, some news for our boy Jonathan Van Ness. He had his own show at Radio City Music Hall. Sold it out, honey.
Oh, sold out.
It featured
Booked.
stand-up, figure skating, a runway. He was living his best life. His mom and dad were there, and it sold out, which is not easy to do. I moved from New York, and that is a tough venue. So there you go, guys.
Good
Your
job,
news
JVN.
and gossip.
We are so proud of
So proud.
So proud of Jess, so proud of JVN, so proud of Karamo, and props to her for seeking out her biological mother. I wonder if there's some kind of parallel there because I know
Incredible.
for sure they went to Gay Georgia. Remember?
Yeah,
I do
I'm
remember.
Like, that looks just like Tammy.
That's where the
wondering if-
geotag was, but I'll do some digging, and next week I'll have more info for you guys.
And yeah, they worked with Tammy from Queer Eye. So many parallels here.
Crazy. I'm
Small
really happy to hear that she's
world.
going back to school, though.
Right?
Okay, yeah, because at the beginning of the episode, I forgot to mention she was going to school to build computers. She didn't really get in more depth than that. But then she had to drop out because she was accumulating debt and had to start working, girl, start making money.
That's also hella relatable. Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
Hello.
student loan debt is crazy. And props to her for being a black woman in tech. Like,
I know,
yes,
work.
girl, represent.
So this show literally is changing her life for the better. Literally.
Awesome. And we saw it just a couple weeks ago with the barbecue joint, changing their lives too.
Ooh,
Oh my God.
I gotta say, I was thinking too, like, where those two ranked for me. And, like,
I
We-
know.
oh, yeah.
I
They're,
thought
like,
Jones
tied.
Barbecue was going to be my number one of the season, but Jess has knocked it out for me. This is, to date, the best episode of season 3 of Queer Eye in my
Yeah, for sure. I agree fully.
they're neck and neck for me. Only because just, I know I missed that episode when you guys broke it down, but seeing one of the Jones sisters, I forgot her name, forgive me, but the one who needed her smile fixed when she finally fixed her teeth and saw her
Deborah, I
smile.
think.
Wow, I actually
Yeah.
sobbed.
That's always a good. I love seeing the videos
Oh
of
my
people
God.
whenever they like their YouTube videos of people getting their
Yeah.
smile corrected and they look
Yeah.
at themselves in the mirror or in the camera and they're like, "Wow, my whole life is transformed."
It's so beautiful.
Boy, I had buck teeth as a kid, and I got braces, and I was like, hallelujah.
Yeah, same. Oh my God, my teeth were an American Horror Story.
Oh my God.
And
Hot
it-
mess.
Yes.
Me, not you.
Also me. But if you want to see more of my American Horror Story, you can keep watching on this show, Queer Eye. We're going to be back every single week. Next week, episode 6, cannot wait. But you can also find me at Charles Connolly on Instagram. I almost said Facebook. On Instagram and Twitter. I'm also on Facebook too. Add me, girl. What a great episode. I am cleansed. My heart is warm and I'm ready to face the world. Christine, are you ready to face the world?
I am ready to face the world with all of my black girl magic in tow. And in the meantime, you guys can find me on Instagram at Christine I Alexis and tweet me on Twitter at Christine Bean with 3 E's. Can't wait for next week's episode.
Okay, and I'm renaming this episode either Queer Tear, because I cried so much, or Tear Eye.
Tear Eye.
Because I cried so much. I'm Anna K. Thomas. It was so awesome to do this panel with you guys tonight. Brendan will be back next
Yeah.
week, so we're really excited about that. You can find me on Instagram at Anna K. K-A-Y Thomas, and on all social media, same handle.
For now, don't forget to summon your black girl magic or your gay man magic or any magic that you might have. See y'all next week. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.